Hey guys, welcome back. In today's video, we are talking about the AMC cover up, shorts exposed by AMC, how they want your shares, and many more in this video. First, we're taking a quick look at the Q1 box office. What you can see right now is we are at $1.2 billion. Now, there is some difference between past years. Firstly, the average this year, you're looking at 6.6 million, which is obviously still good. When you take a look at the gross for the best films in Q1, we're looking at 185 as opposed to obviously some of the higher ones, back in previous years. Now, this obviously comes down to the production of the movies. This is something that AMC can't control. So this is not something I'm worried about. However, what we do have to understand is, like what AMC has said themselves before, they are able to make the same amount of money, if not more, with an equal or less box office. And so whilst we're not seeing the box office at the same number as we are before, remember that actually the profit margin has actually gone up. And so it doesn't mean that just because the box office dropped by 10-20%, so will the revenue of AMC. In fact, it's very likely to see it stay at the same, or again, depending on how the structure is, depending on how they're operating, we could actually see it higher. And so that's what we want to look out for. And again, if anything, I kind of want the box office to be low for 2025 for Q1, just so we can see how well is AMC to operate. But obviously, the higher, the better. Now, let's take a look at how they're trying to cover up AMC. You can see here, SEC covers up AMC wrap token case. The fight for transparency continues. The SEC has closed the case, claiming nothing was found, yet the evidence right there on the Ethereum blockchain. If I can find these transactions, so can they. This is not about FTX tokens on Solana. These are two separate disputes. This is a deliberate cover up at the highest level. Now, Brad M is someone who has gone and actually tried to fight for this case, obviously talking about the AMC wrap tokens. That's something we have covered in the past before, where we've seen transactions, where we've seen tokens in the trillions and obviously even higher. And so this is what we are talking about. Now, bear in mind, this isn't talking about the FTX AMC. This isn't talking about the Solana AMC. This is talking about the AMC wrap tokens, where we're also seeing them in the past before, where they used obviously locate AMC. Now, the thing is that we have already seen everyone else who's been on this channel or potentially seen it somewhere else. They have seen the data that has shown that these tokens do exist. But yet the SEC has closed the case, claiming nothing was found. Now, very likely that this is obviously a cover up, that they don't want to accept it. They don't want to accept that the market is corrupt as it is, because once again, we have seen this in the dates before. We have seen this in public. This is something that everyone can obviously prove. Now, of course, just like Brad M is saying, he is not stopping, and nor should we. Again, Brad M is obviously doing this. He's leading this. The best I can do is just bring traffic to him, bring obviously kind of the attraction to this. And so everyone obviously go and support him, go check this out. But obviously we want this to get solved. We want the actual, fairness, the equalness for this to be solved. And we want a fair result to obviously happen for this. Now, taking a look at this, and again, it kind of relates to what we just talked about. Just because there are loopholes like Red Show and Obligation Warehouse, where members can reset FTDs, doesn't mean FTD list doesn't show naked shorts or that naked shorting is acceptable or ethical. Laws need to be revised. Loophole needs to be closed. Now, this again goes back to what we talked about here, obviously with the AMC wrap token case. And I want to talk more about this. Everything that they're doing here, whether it's with the FTDs, whether it's with resetting it, whether it's with, all these other, the swaps, the tokens, like we've just mentioned, these are all essentially delaying the whole process of the squeeze. But just because they're doing this doesn't mean they're removing it. Remember, this still does exist. Everything that they've done is still there. All the swaps that they've created are still there. All the FTDs that they have created are still there. The fact that resetted it just means that, again, it's only being renewed. It doesn't mean that it's gone, and they will eventually have to pay for this. And that's why, like we talked about, laws need to be revised, loopholes need to be closed, but they understand what will happen when it gets fixed, when it gets closed, and that's why they want to turn a blind eye. But they can't do this for long, especially with everything that's obviously happening. And again, we have faced a ton of difficulties during this whole journey. This isn't the first time where we've seen, this sort of behavior happen, this sort of, practices being done to us. But what we have to understand is, you should honestly give a shit less about what anyone else thinks, because we've seen what happened with the release of Ape shares. We've seen the GameStop report numbers. We've seen the FTD's numbers disappear for years and 70% off exchange days. I've seen the fines for mismarking billions of shares as long when they open them as short. I believe in AMC, and I believe when the titles fall, AMC will expose the market corruption for what it is. We obviously like the AMC stock. And so just like what Bigham has said here, and just like already what we have shown in this video, everything that we've talked about here, the 70% of exchange, this is something that we have seen. This is something that has been shown on this channel. FTD number disappear, again, something that we've shown on this channel. The release of Ape, we talked about this obviously when it came out. The GameStop report numbers, we talked about this. The fines for mismarking billions of shares, these are all things that we have talked about on this channel, or maybe you've seen it elsewhere. But these are all living proof that AMC is being manipulated, that AMC is being suppressed. And the very fact that these things exist shows that there is something happening, shows that all these synthetic shares, all these naked shorts will have to be covered at one point, and that's when we'll obviously get paid. And so that's what I'm obviously understanding, that's what I believe in, and that's why I'm not bothered about all of these things I see. Yes, we're facing difficulties, but it doesn't mean that they've fully gotten away with it, because if they have, they wouldn't still try to be suppressing AMC. As always, none of this is ever financial advice, so do take us again. So make sure to do your own due diligence and research. And you have to understand, because of all of this, when the day comes that they have to pay for it, when they come begging to buy your AMC and GME shares from you because lenders want positions closed, don't sell them one effing share. You have to make them suffer, because it's been 4 years of this. Now, what I mean by this, again, take it from my own, this is my own opinion. Maybe Joshua has a different meaning to this, but what I mean by this is they have to pay for this. What they have done is utterly unacceptable. And we've talked about how they need to pay, thousands of dollars for per share of AMC. Yes, everyone has a different price in mind, and you should have a different price in mind. You should go with whatever you think. You shouldn't let other people, persuade the price that you should sell at. If you want to sell at $100, sell $100. If you want to sell $1,000, obviously sell $1,000. I'm not here to give you an exact price. What I am here to say is that make sure you get your worth, because you have gone through such a difficult journey, and when the time comes, you obviously deserve to benefit from it. You deserve to get and maximize all the gains that you should. And so that's what I think. And going on about all the things that we talked about, all of the things that we've seen, you can even see here GME short data is straight up absurd. 831.88 million shares shorted since the 2-year high. 23.78 billion in short volume. Must be nice to print fake shares. Short volume ratio 959.99%. That's nearly 10 times the average. They're literally borrowing imaginary shares at this point. The suppression algo is running on fumes when the house of cards collapses. TikTok. And so, just like we talked about, everything that we've discussed, everything that we have seen, you can even see here about what they are doing. And it goes back to this again. If they were out of the AMC GME situation, if there is nothing going on with AMC and GME, they won't be doing these sort of, things. They won't be borrowing so much shares. They won't be printing all of these fake shares to suppress the price if they're not actually worried about the price of AMC and GME going up. And at this point, it should be illegal for stockbrokers to automatically enroll retail traders by default into a margin account. They write in the fine print their shares are being loaned out to a short seller who has conflict of interest. On top of that, pay the broker for orders. And so this is something that I mentioned in the past before. If you are in a brokerage, make sure you check that your lending shares option is turned off. Now again, this is obviously entirely up to you, but if you don't want your shares to be lent out, then make sure you check for that option and understand that it's actually turned off, because a lot of brokerages actually have them automatically turned on, and so that's how they get you. But yeah guys, thanks for watching this video. I'll catch you guys next time.